I never wanted to go back to Ohio. That's where it all started. The long road, the shadows in the cornfields, the thing that should never have been there. I've tried for years to forget the trip, but when I close my eyes at night, I can still hear the endless hum of tires on black asphalt and the low growl of something chasing us in the dark. It was 2019, late summer. I had just finished my last semester of college in Chicago. My two best friends, Mark and Tyler, thought it would be a great idea to celebrate with a road trip across the U.S. before settling into the dull grind of adult jobs. The idea was simple. Head east, loop around through the Smoky Mountains, then down south, and finish by cutting through the desert toward California. One last ride, Tyler had said, slapping the roof of his old Ford Explorer like it was some kind of reliable warhorse. In truth, the SUV was a rust-streaked beast that reeked of fried fast food and had a cassette player nobody knew how to use. But for us, it was perfect. Home on wheels. A cage on the road. The route was planned, but the mistake was our own arrogance. Somewhere in the middle of Ohio, we decided to get off the interstate. Tyler claimed he knew a faster back road cutting through farmland down toward West Virginia. We trusted him. After all, adventure meant straying from the beaten path, right? That was the night the road began. It was past midnight when we rolled off the I-70. The exit didn't even have a proper name on the sign, just a faded arrow pointing south. The two-lane road was swallowed on both sides by cornfields that seemed infinite, row after row stretching into blackness. The moon was thin, a claw mark in the sky, and our headlights barely pierced the distance ahead. Mark, always the cautious one, frowned. "You sure about this, Ty? GPS says nothing's even out here." "Trust me," Tyler said, grinning like he knew a secret. "It'll cut at least an hour if we run this straight." The clock on the dashboard blinked 12:48 a.m. I stared out the window, hypnotized by the rows of corn. Every so often I swore I saw shapes moving between the stalks, like people keeping pace with us. But whenever I blinked, the fields were empty. We drove for miles without seeing a single house, car, or light. Just the beam of our headlights slicing through the dark. That's when we passed the first sign. It was old, wooden, nailed crookedly into the ground beside the road. Black paint had flaked off with age, but I could still make out the word Dead Horse Road. "Charming," Mark muttered. I laughed, but uneasily. "Who names a road that?" Tyler just shrugged. "Probably some dumb farm legend like Ghost Creek or Devil's Hollow. Relax." We kept driving. 5 minutes later, another sign appeared. Newer than the first, metal this time. "Last gas, 40 miles. That made sense, I told myself. Rural stretches often had warning signs for travelers. Nothing unusual. But when the third sign came into view, my stomach turned cold. "Turn back." Just those two words scrawled in dripping red spray paint across a rusted sheet of corrugated metal leaning against a fence. "Okay, that's creepy," Mark said. "Probably kids messing around. This is farm country. Nothing else to do is but scare travelers." He pressed the accelerator harder. I stayed quiet, but in my gut, I felt something was wrong. Not haunted house kind of wrong, not fake urban legend wrong, real wrong. Like something wanted us on that road. We had been driving nearly 30 miles in silence when we saw him. At first, I thought it was a scarecrow. Tall, stiff, standing alone by the roadside lit by our headlights. He wore a wide-brim hat and a dust-colored coat that made him look like part of the field. But as we drew closer, his head slowly lifted, and he smiled. It wasn't the smile of a smart-ass farmer or drunk hiker. It was too wide, too empty, stretching further than skin should allow. "Jesus Christ," Mark said, slamming his hands on the dashboard. "Did you see that?" "Yeah," I whispered. Tyler cursed under his breath, gripping the wheel tighter. "Probably a homeless guy. Ignore him." But when we passed the man, I looked back out the rear window. He wasn't there anymore. Not on the shoulder, not in the field. Gone. I didn't say a word. I just kept staring back, waiting for something to appear behind the car. The road seemed endless. GPS showed nothing but a straight blank line, no highways connecting back, no towns ahead. We should have reached another junction hours ago, but the miles dragged on without change. The corn, the dark, the silent black ribbon of asphalt. Eventually, we came to a crossroads. The single stop sign was riddled with shotgun holes, rust dripping like old blood. Tyler hesitated, engine idling. "Which way?" he asked, tapping the useless GPS. Mark unfolded the paper road atlas we kept in the glove box. He squinted at it under the dome light. "There's nothing here. This road isn't even listed." "Bullshit," Tyler scowled. "Every road's listed." I shook my head. "Not this one." The three of us sat there staring into the darkness of each direction. North, south, east, west. It all looked the same. And then we heard it. The sound of footsteps, slow and heavy, circling the car. The sound of footsteps circled us, deliberate, heavy, as if someone was walking just outside the ring of headlights. Crunch of gravel, soft scrape against dirt. None of us moved. None of us breathed. Tyler tightened his grip on the steering wheel until his knuckles went pale. Mark whispered, "Tell me you guys hear that too." I nodded slowly. "Yeah." Tyler forced a laugh, but it cracked. Could be a deer. Maybe cows wandered out. But cows didn't walk in circles. The sound made another loop before fading behind us, toward the road we had just traveled. I turned in my seat, staring out the rear window. In the shadows beyond the taillights, I swore I saw something standing there. Tall, thin, hat brim low over its face. The same man. "Drive," I said. My voice shook. "Tyler, drive! Now!" He didn't argue. Tires squealed as he floored the gas, and the Explorer lurched forward. Gravel sprayed, and in the mirror, the figure shrank away, swallowed by darkness. We didn't stop again until nearly 40 minutes later, when the faint outline of buildings appeared ahead. Relief washed over me at the sight of streetlights, a diner sign flickering red. Civilization, finally. "See?" Tyler said, trying too hard to sound confident. "Told you it would cut through somewhere." But when we rolled into town, every light we saw was false. The diner's neon buzzed against empty windows, the gas station's pumps would chain shut, the motel's office door hung wide open with no one inside. We drove down the main street, stores with dust-blown display windows, a bar with stools overturned, payphones hanging off their cords like broken limbs. Mark muttered, "Where is everybody?" No answer. We passed through block after block of houses, all dark. No cars in the driveways, no porch lights glowing, just silence. Then we saw the swings. A small children's park sat at the edge of town. The swings creaked slowly back and forth in the wind, except there was no wind. Tyler slowed the car. That's when the figures stepped out. At first I thought they were mannequins, tall, stiff shapes emerging from doorways and alleys. Then the nearest one moved fluidly, head turning toward our headlights. More of them followed, dozens. Their faces were wrong. Too long, cheekbones sharp under paper-thin skin, mouths cut into permanent smiles. Every single one wore some kind of hat, baseball caps, straw hats, wide-brimmed cowboy hats, like masks, but not. They didn't run, didn't even hurry. They just began walking toward the car from every direction, slow but steady. "Holy shit," Mark muttered. "Go, go!" Tyler slammed the pedal. The Explorer thundered forward, scattering shadowy bodies into our headlights. They didn't resist, just stepped aside and watched us pass. their twisted smiles catching in the glow. A woman with hollow eyes, a man clutching a hat to his chest, a child whose face was just a blank, smooth oval. I pressed against the window, refusing to blink until we cleared the town. But even as the last buildings vanished behind us, I could still see them. Figures lined along the roadside, watching us disappear. And just before the darkness swallowed them, one of them raised an arm and pointed forward, down the very road we were already on, as if they wanted us to keep going. By 3 a.m. we were nearly out of fuel. The gauge sat on empty, the warning light glowing bright orange. We argued heatedly in the car. Tyler insisted we keep pushing ahead. Mark wanted us to turn around no matter what. I said nothing. I kept hearing the footsteps in my mind, kept seeing that stranger's impossible smile in the headlights. Finally, thank God, we spotted a gas station, a lonely island of fluorescent light in the middle of endless black. 2 working pumps, a small convenience store with a buzzing sign that read, "Tolliver's Fuel." Tyler pulled in, killed the engine, and for a moment, none of us moved. The air outside was too still, too heavy. "I'll pump," Mark said quickly. "You two, stay ready." I watched from the passenger seat as he stepped out, swiping a card and locking the nozzle into place. I could hear the tick-tick-tick of the numbers rolling, the splash of gas pouring into the tank. Then, movement. Out by the edge of the light, behind the pumps, I saw someone standing. At first I thought it was a customer, maybe the attendant. But the longer I looked, the clearer it became. Tall, thin, hat brim low over its face. The man. "Mark," I hissed, fumbling with the window switch. "Get in the car, right now." He glanced back, annoyed. "Chill, it's almost—" The lights above us flickered, buzzed, and when they came back steady, the man was gone. Mark paled, dropped the nozzle, and dove into the back seat. "Drove here out of nowhere," Tyler muttered. "He's fucking following us." We all looked toward the convenience store. Its door creaked open, and someone inside whispered, "Keep driving." The voice from the convenience store was soft, almost impossible over the idling hum of our SUV. But I swear I heard it. Keep driving. Not shouted, not threatening, just a whisper of warning, as if someone barely still human wanted us gone before something worse arrived. None of us moved. Finally, Tyler muttered, "No way in hell I'm going in there." He turned the key, the Explorer's engine sputtered, then roared back to life. The moment the headlights washed over the glass door of the store, I froze. There was someone standing just inside. A woman, at least her shape suggested one, but her face was vague, smeared in the reflection. Her hand pressed against the glass as if she wanted to reach us, her lips moving silently. Mark shouted, "Go!" Tyler punched the gas and we bolted from the station, tires screeching. In the side mirror I saw it. The woman's face suddenly clear under the fluorescent lights. It wasn't a face at all. Just smooth skin, no eyes or mouth. A porcelain blur. Then the image was swallowed in the dark as we sped back onto the road. Time stretched strange on that highway. Miles passed like minutes, then hours bled with no change in scenery. No junctions, no signs, just the ribbon of asphalt lined with cornfields and forest. Mark muttered almost constantly now, paranoia bubbling over. He said, "We're going in circles. This road isn't ending. It's not ending." But I knew it was worse than that. The landmarks weren't repeating. The ground wasn't looping. It was all new, which meant the road wasn't letting us leave. It just kept pushing us deeper. Around 4:15 a.m., the Explorer's headlights caught something massive lying on the road. Tyler slowed, squinting. It was a deer, but wrong. The body was huge, stretched unnaturally long, legs twisted like tangled branches. Its head was twisted completely backward, jaws still moving as if chewing something invisible. "What the?" Tyler whispered. "Don't stop, just go around it," I said. We drifted wide onto the opposite lane. As our headlights swept across its body, the deer's eyes, milky white, glassy, snapped to life and locked directly on me. It smiled. I swear to God, that thing actually smiled. I couldn't breathe until it was just a shrinking shadow in the rear. Dawn never came. No matter how many hours we drove, the sky stayed trapped in permanent night. My phone read 6:47 a.m., then 8:15 a.m., then noon, but outside the horizon remained an endless black. That's when the road dipped into a concrete tunnel. No lights inside, just endless dark and the echo of our engine bouncing off the walls. The air grew colder as we pushed deeper. Halfway through, the radio came alive. We hadn't touched it since Chicago. It hadn't worked in years. But suddenly it screeched with static, then settled into faint voices. Not music, not talk radio, whispering. Dozens of overlapping whispers too fast to follow, but I caught pieces. "Still driving. Can't leave now. Behind you. Behind you." Mark slapped the radio off, but the whispers didn't stop. Because they weren't just in the radio anymore. They were in the car. Thin voices filling every corner, murmuring right beside our ears. I shoved my palms over mine until they ached, but I could still hear it, like they lived inside my head. Only one voice spoke clear. "You were warned." When the tunnel finally spat us back into open air, the voices cut off abruptly. The road narrowed into a single lane now, no markings, no rails, just asphalt climbing through hills thick with trees, where the branches clawed towards each other overhead. Together they made a roof of tangled limbs that choked out even the illusion of stars. None of us spoke for a long while. The silence felt necessary, like breaking it would invite something closer. My chest was tight, air shallow. Every few minutes I glanced behind us, expecting to see headlights, or worse, that grinning man. At one point, Mark muttered, "He knew we'd come this way. He's waiting ahead. You felt it, right?" And the worst part was, I had. After hours of shattered road, the forest briefly opened into a clearing. That's when we saw it. A single cabin, squatting alone, porch light glowing faint yellow like a dying ember. "Finally," Tyler said, his voice too relieved. "Civilization." But even as he slowed toward it, my entire body screamed no. The cabin shouldn't have had power. There were no lines, no poles, nothing stretching across these woods. Yet the porch light hummed faintly, steady, waiting. Mark shook his head hard. "Don't stop! Don't you dare stop!" But even without touching the wheel, the SUV began to slow. I swear to God, I looked down and Tyler's foot was pressing the gas pedal, but we were drifting forward like dragged by invisible hands. The tires crunched gravel as we rolled into the dirt drive. The cabin door creaked open. She stood in the doorway, silhouetted by warm glow from inside. The shape of a woman, short, slight, her hair falling thin over her shoulders. When she stepped out onto the porch, the sound was wrong. Her feet touched wood, but the creak echoed like metal bending. She raised a hand to beckon us closer. "Don't," I whispered, barely audible. "Maybe she can help," Tyler said, weakly. Then her voice reached us, thin and breathy, but crystal clear. "You're lost. Come inside." Mark practically screamed, "Drive, Tyler!" But before we could move, I got a good look at her face under that fading yellow porch light.
Not a woman. Not really. Her face looked unfinished, like clay not yet molded. Where her eyes should have been were hollow pits. Her lips had no separation, just a line carved into skin. And then, like wet paint smearing, I watched features try to form as she forced a smile too wide across that blankness. Inside the cabin, shapes stirred, others waiting. Figures pressed to the window glass, faces melting in and out the same way, as though they were trying on masks that didn't belong to them. Tyler screamed, "Nope!" and slammed the gas. The Explorer roared to life, gravel spitting as we fishtailed back to the road. The porch light blinked once, twice, then went completely black. And in that instant, we were already swallowed again by the trees. By what the dashboard clock claimed was 11:40 p.m., the winding forest road funneled us to a bridge. Its skeletal frame rose above us, old iron girders arching high against endless dark. A battered sign hung at the entry. Tolliver Bridge. We froze. Tolliver. The same name as the gas station. Something about reading it out loud made the world seem to lean, as if the road itself tilted ever so slightly, waiting for us to commit. "Do we cross?" Tyler asked, his knuckles white on the wheel. "If we don't," Mark said, his eyes wide, hollow, "we stay here. Forever." I didn't even argue. Tyler eased us forward. The bridge moaned under the Explorer's weight, every plank rattling as we crawled across. The river below glinted faintly silver, but too far down to tell if it was even water. It felt bottomless. Halfway across, the engine sputtered. "Not now, not now," Tyler cursed, slamming the gas pedal. The headlights flickered, and then I saw them. On the girders above, dozens of figures, watching from the iron beams like perched birds, hats tilted forward, smiles glowing faint in the headlight reflection, and some of them began to climb down. Tyler floored the gas, engine screaming. The Explorer lurched forward, shuddering, but somehow made it across just as the figures dropped onto the bridge behind us. I twisted in my seat. They hadn't chased us. They just stood at the entrance, a sea of tall, grinning silhouettes against the dark mouth of the bridge. Watching, waiting, and that's when I realized they only ever wanted one thing: us moving forward, further in, deeper. We weren't escaping. We were being herded. We didn't speak after the bridge, not for miles. The forest closed in tighter, branches scraping the roof, and I could hear the faint groan of metal behind us, as if those figures still lingered on the bridge, making it sway long after we'd crossed. The weight hanging over us wasn't just fear anymore. It was inevitability. Each mile stretched out like the road itself wanted us to keep going, forcing us forward. Eventually, Mark broke the silence. His voice was hollow, quiet. "They're not chasing us, you get it? They don't have to. We're already where they want us." Tyler squeezed the wheel so tight I thought it might splinter. "Shut up, Mark, just shut up!" But deep down, we all knew he was right. Around what the dashboard clock claimed was 2:18 a.m., we finally saw something new. A rest area, a low brick bathroom building, a handful of picnic tables, a vending machine glowing like an oasis. The SUV coasted to a reluctant halt, all of us staring at the building. "I can't hold it anymore," Tyler muttered, unbuckling his seatbelt. "We've been driving 10 hours straight. My bladder's gonna burst." "Don't," I said automatically. "Don't go in there." But Tyler was already out of the car, jogging stiffly toward the bathrooms. The sound of his footsteps echoed too loudly, like we were surrounded by an empty cavern rather than open air. Mark and I sat frozen, clutching the seats. Minutes ticked, then came the sound. A laugh. Muffled. But not Tyler's. It came from inside the bathroom. "Tyler?" I called out, my voice cracking. Silence. Then the stall doors inside began to slam, one after another. Bang, bang, bang. As if someone, or many, were moving through the place, closing them in order. Finally, Tyler stumbled out of the doorway, pale and wide-eyed. He slammed himself back into the car, chest heaving. "What happened?" I demanded. He shook his head so violently his teeth clacked. After a long moment, he muttered, "They knew my name."
We left the rest stop behind at high speed, but things only grew worse. The trees thinned into sprawling fields again, stretching further than headlights could reach. This time, they weren't corn. The stalks out there were taller, thicker, wrong. Shapes between plant and bone. Some swayed without wind, bending as though following our car. And then, I saw it. A shape ran through the field beside us, keeping perfect pace with the SUV. Not animal, not human, somewhere in between. Long limbs bent at grotesque angles, mouth stretched across its head like a gash, and it was smiling too. Another appeared on the opposite side, sprinting through the stalks. "They're hurting us," Mark whispered again, pressing his forehead to the glass. "They've always been hurting us." I couldn't look anymore. I shut my eyes tight, but even then I swore I could hear the rustling shapes keeping up with us. By the time the gauge light screamed empty again, we saw a flicker of neon ahead. My stomach turned at the sight. Another town. Another dead hollow imitation. But this time there was a motel. Its sign buzzed red and blue. Haven's Rest. Vacancy. We were too desperate to argue. Tyler pulled us into the cracked lot, parked under the dim glow of a flickering lamppost. The lobby door was unlocked. The desk bell dinged too loudly when Tyler pressed it. From a back room, someone shuffled out. A man, tall, thin, of course, sliding into view slow as if his joints were too stiff. His head bowed under a wide-brimmed hat. When he finally looked up, his mouth bent into that same impossible grin we'd seen over and over. "Welcome," he rasped. "We've been expecting you." I don't know why we didn't leave right then. Maybe exhaustion, maybe madness, maybe the road itself wouldn't let us. But we followed him upstairs, each step groaning. He led us to a door at the end of the hall and gestured with a long, thin hand. Room 6. Inside, the air smelled like mildew and something coppery. Blood, maybe. But the beds were made. A lamp buzzed in the corner. "Rest here," he whispered. "The road is long." Then he left, shutting the door behind him. We didn't try to sleep. We didn't move. We just sat there, waiting. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Then the phone beside the bed rang, 3 sharp rings, and stopped. Neither of us touched it. The motel room phone didn't ring again. It just sat there, dead quiet. The kind of quiet that feels like it's waiting. Tyler finally whispered, "That's it. I'm done." His voice cracked under strain. "We're leaving. We're not staying another minute." No one argued. We bolted from room 6, but the hallway outside wasn't the same. The carpet stretched longer than before. The row of doors continued far past where the stairs should have been. As we started walking, door numbers grew strange. 9, 11, 14, 66, 13 again. Are we? Mark started but cut himself short, his face twisted in panic, because the doors were opening on their own. Just one at first, then another. Each door revealed nothing but pitch black, deeper than night. And from that black, hands reached out, not to grab, not yet, just to wave. Thin, long-fingered hands beckoning us forward like the motel itself wanted us to walk into those dark rooms. We sprinted, didn't stop until finally, mercifully, we found stairs leading down into the lobby. Only the lobby wasn't empty anymore. They were waiting. Dozens of them. The road people, lined across the checkered tiles, their hats tilted down, their grins sharp as razors in the glow of the buzzing light overhead. All turned towards us. We didn't think, we just ran through them. And none of them moved to stop us. They only leaned in as we passed, whispering things too close to our ears. Fragments. "Ah, you are part of the road. Soon, soon. It's not miles, it's hours left in you." Then somehow we broke through the front doors and stumbled into the lot. The SUV was still there, waiting, engine cold but untouched. We piled in, shaking, gasping, not one of us daring to look back until the tires squealed us onto the main road again. We drove until exhaustion began to set in. None of us had slept. None of us had eaten. Only the endless dark kept us awake. That's when the radio hissed alive again. This time no whispers, no static, just a clear, drawling voice. "Good evening, travelers. Or morning? Hard to tell on this road, isn't it?" Mark slapped the volume down, but the voice only grew louder, like it wasn't coming from the car at all, but from everywhere. "You've gone a long way tonight. You've met my people, seen our towns, our bridges, our fields. I told you before, you were warned, but here you are." "Who are you?" I asked before I realized I'd spoken out loud. The voice chuckled, low, rumbling. "I'm the keeper of the route, the tollman, and you, children, you're already mine." Then the radio clicked. Silent again. For a few long minutes, none of us could breathe. The road split ahead. 2 paths. For the first time since we'd left the interstate, a choice. The left road stretched down into fog, glowing faintly blue. The right lifted up a hill, dim orange light pulsing like distant fire. "Which one?" Tyler barked. His face was pale, drenched in sweat. Neither looked safe. Neither looked right. "It doesn't matter," Mark rasped. His eyes were sunken, his voice empty. "Whichever we take, he's already waiting." But I felt something then, a pull deep in my chest. One path wanted us to turn, the other wanted us to surrender. "I don't think we can choose," I whispered. "I think the road already has." And when I looked down at the dashboard screen, blank all this time, I saw something blink across it. 3 words. "Keep going forward." Tyler slammed his foot down, and the SUV sped forward into the junction, splitting the difference. Straight ahead. But there wasn't supposed to be a straight ahead. Still, the road bent, reshaping itself, opening directly in front of us. The forest fell away, the fields vanished, even the sky seemed to flatten, peeling back until above us stretched only black horizon, endless, starless, infinite. We weren't on Earth anymore, and for the first time we realized the road didn't just go through states, it went beyond.
The world beyond the road felt unreal. Everything familiar had peeled away, the trees, the fields, the signs of civilization. Now only the narrow strip of asphalt stretched ahead into a horizon that swallowed itself. Above us, nothing. No stars, no moon, no clouds. Just a void that bent strangely when you tried to look too long. The SUV's headlights cut a cone into the black, showing just enough of the asphalt for us to doubt if anything existed outside it. Every time the engine hummed, the sound sounded smaller, as though the void itself was swallowing it up. "This isn't the US anymore," Mark whispered. His face had gone gray, lips trembling. "We're not anywhere." Tyler didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the endless stretch ahead, jaw twitching, sweat dripping from his temples. I sat frozen in the passenger seat, and I realized something terrifying. The road lights, the yellow markers at the center, were glowing faintly. Not painted, not reflective. Pulsing. Like veins, lit under skin. The road was alive. Somewhere deep in that nothing, the Explorer jolted hard, as though we hit something. Tyler cursed, fighting the wheel. We hadn't swerved, nothing had been on the road, yet the hood dipped like weight had slammed onto it. Then I saw him, the stranger, grinning man, crouched directly on the hood, both palms pressed flat against the metal, his hat casting his face in a half-shadow. I couldn't even scream. Mark did, though, high-pitched, panicked. "He's on the car!" The man's grin never shifted. He leaned forward until the brim of his hat nearly tapped the windshield. His lips moved slowly, soundlessly. But in my head, I heard the words clear. "Forward." Tyler slammed the accelerator in blind terror, but the man didn't slip, didn't fall. He clung to the hood effortlessly, as though his limbs fused to the steel. And the smile widened too far, skin splitting at the corners. Then blink. He was gone, as if he'd never been there. Only 2 black palm prints burned into the hood's paint, still steaming. The road stretched forever, but the gas gauge didn't care. The needle dipped to empty, the orange warning light glaring against the dark. We'd been running on fumes for hours, yet somehow still moving. A car should have died already. Mark laughed, a raw, broken sound. "Of course, the car doesn't stop. The road won't let us stop." Tyler glanced at him, wild-eyed. "If it keeps going without gas, we're not driving anymore. We're being driven." I wanted to deny it, pretend we had control, but deep down, I felt it too. The shudder in the wheel didn't belong to Tyler. The vibration in the floor didn't belong to the tank or the tires. Something massive hummed within the road itself, carrying us like we were just cargo on its spine. After what felt like an eternity, pale light flickered ahead. We slowed, dread boiling hot in my chest. It was a sign. Haven's Rest, vacancy. The exact same motel from before, the same cracked parking lot, the same flickering sign. But we had driven straight into void. There was no way back to it. And yet here it was, waiting for us. "Oh no," Mark whispered, rocking slightly in the back seat. "We didn't leave. We never left. The road just loops us until we belong." The SUV slowed on its own again. Tires rolled across the lot without permission. Tyler screamed, stomping the pedals, yanking the wheel, but nothing changed. We were being pulled back. The front doors of the motel opened. Figures stepped out, the same road people. Their hats low, their grins wide. But there were more of them now. Hundreds. All waiting for us to check back in. Before we could be dragged to a stop, the void sky cracked. Not lightning, something else. A fissure opening across the black, as though something behind it wanted to peer through. And the voice returned now. Louder now, no longer from radios or whispers, but filling the entire endless horizon. Welcome back, travelers. Haven's Rest is always open. Forward is the only way. And forward is me.
The ground trembled. The road pulsed brighter beneath us, veins glowing red like molten arteries. I realized the truth then, horrible and clear. The grinning man wasn't chasing us. The road people weren't hunting us. The dark towns, the bridge, the rest stop, they weren't traps. They were stations. And the road itself was alive, ancient, hungry, and it wanted us to keep going until there was nothing left. The road pulsed red beneath the SUV, trembling as though something immense was stirring under its surface. We smelled it then, burnt rubber mixed with something older, sharper like singed flesh. The dashboard lights flickered, gauges twitching wildly. Tyler gripped the wheel so hard blood welled where his nails dug into his palms. "We're not stopping at that motel," he hissed. "No way, not again!" But the SUV ignored him, steering itself into the parking lot, rolling closer to the glowing Haven's Rest sign as though dragged by invisible hooks. Mark buried his head in his hands and muttered, "It won't matter, Ty. You know it. We're already passengers." And then, for the first time, the road faltered. The tires shrieked, the steering wheel turned loose in Tyler's hands. Somehow control returned, if only for a breath. We didn't question it. He swerved hard. The Explorer clipped the edge of the crumbling lot, bounced onto dirt, and roared past the motel's entrance. Instantly, the sign above the building sputtered violently, flaring white-hot before it burst in a shower of sparks, plunging Haven's Rest into dark silence. For a moment, we'd escaped it. The road reclaimed us, stretching black and straight into nothing once more, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. "What just happened?" Mark gasped. "Why did it let go?" I swallowed hard. It hadn't let go. It had tested us. The headlights caught movement ahead. We braced automatically, but what came into view was worse than anything before. The road itself was shifting. The asphalt bubbled like tar, soft as if the ground were flesh. Then outlines rose from it. Faces. Hundreds, maybe thousands of faces imprinted in the blacktop. Their eyes were wide open. Their mouths were frozen in eternal screams. Every one of them looked human. Travelers who had come before us. They're still alive," Mark whispered, his voice breaking. "It's keeping them part of it." As we drove, the tires crushed over those faces. The vibrations in the floor matched their muffled voices, screaming beneath us. The road was feeding on them, and soon on us. Hours or moments later, lights appeared again. Another town. Another false promise. This one larger, spreading on both sides of the road with tall buildings, brick facades, neon signs. But all of the windows were filled with people, not moving, just standing there, watching. An entire city of the road people, their grins etched into the glass, their hats tilted in unison. As we passed down the central street, traffic lights over each intersection blinked in a pattern, red to green, green to red, as if guiding us along. And over loudspeakers bolted to telephone poles, a calm, measured voice hummed in static waves. "Welcome, travelers. Forward is life. Forward is death. Forward is all." "They've built a whole world here," Tyler whispered, clutching the wheel. "An entire place just for the road." Mark laughed hollowly. "Not for the road, of the road." Then, finally, after what felt like eternity, we saw it. An exit ramp, green sign overhead with pristine white text, and Exit 1, return to Interstate 70. It was real, solid, salvation. For the first time, tears welled in my eyes. "We're free," I whispered. Tyler didn't hesitate. He yanked the wheel, sending the Explorer barreling toward the ramp. Tires screeched as we climbed. The sign passed overhead close enough to touch. But halfway up, the road stopped. Literally ended. Asphalt dissolved into black dirt, the ramp crumbling into nothingness. And at the very end of it, standing upright, hat pulled low, smile stretched thin, was the man. The same man we'd seen since Ohio. The grinning man. He lifted his head slowly as we skidded to a halt, and for the first time I heard his voice aloud. "You don't exit. You only go forward." The grinning man stood at the end of the broken exit ramp like a sentinel, hat brim tilted in perfect shadow. Behind him there was nothing, not sky, not ground, but a yawning abyss into which the ramp fragmented and fell apart. The smile cut so deep into his face I thought it would split his head in two. He didn't move, didn't breathe, but his mouth spoke without opening, the words vibrating inside my skull. "You don't exit. You only go forward." Tyler cursed, slamming the SUV into reverse, tires squealing as the Explorers screeched backward down the ramp. But as we hit the main road again, the exit ramp sealed behind us, closing with a rush of asphalt pulling upward like a zipper sealing flesh. Mark screamed. Not words, just a raw, broken terror shriek. There were no exits. Only forward.
The road leveled out into a stretch so long it bent into the horizon's curve. The glowing lane dividers pulsed brighter, quickening, heartbeat fast. The whole ground seemed alive now, shuddering beneath us like some giant creature was waking up. I tried not to look out the window, but when I did, my gut flipped to ice. Where before had been endless void, now shapes were walking parallel to us. Barely visible, half-formed silhouettes in the black. Dozens, hundreds, matching our speed. The road people weren't confined to towns or motels anymore. They lined the path like pilgrims, moving endlessly forward with us. And they were singing, low, droning, the same two words on repeat, echoing inside my skull. Keep forward, keep forward, keep forward. Mark snapped. Out of nowhere, he started pounding the dashboard, screaming, "This is my fault! This is my fault!" "Shut up, Mark," Tyler barked. But Mark wouldn't stop. He clawed at his own arms, sobbing, I read it! I read about this place! Dead Horse Road, the road with no end! They said you don't take it! You never take it!"
My heart sank. You knew? Mark's tears streaked his face. I thought it was fake, some dumb legend, but I knew the name. I let us on it. Tyler nearly slammed into the wheel, his knuckles bleached white, rage mixing with panic. You could have... But before he could finish, the road itself interrupted us. The black above tore open like cloth, a jagged rip unveiling something behind it. Not stars, not heaven. Eyes. Thousands of enormous, lidless eyes staring down on us, each one glowing faint yellow, rimmed in red, unblinking as they tracked our SUV. The glowing lane dividers pulsed brighter, quickening, heartbeat fast. The whole ground seemed alive now, shuddering beneath us like some giant creature was waking up. I tried not to look out the window, but when I did, my gut flipped to ice. Where before had been endless void, now shapes were walking parallel to us, barely visible, half-formed silhouettes in the black, dozens, hundreds, matching our speed. The road people weren't confined to towns or motels anymore. They lined the path like pilgrims, moving endlessly forward with us. And they were singing, low, droning, the same two words on repeat, echoing inside my skull. Keep forward, keep forward, keep forward. Mark snapped. Out of nowhere, he started pounding the dashboard, screaming, "This is my fault! This is my fault!" "Shut up, Mark," Tyler barked. But Mark wouldn't stop. He clawed at his own arms, sobbing, I read about this place, Dead Horse Road, the road with no end. They said you don't take it." I tried not to look out the window. Wait, my words echoed around me again. I tried not to look out the window. My own thoughts seemed to be stuck in a repeat. A second voice slowly echoed out from below. "It won't stop because you're in my road." I glanced up at Mark. His face was pale, his eyes focused on his own hands clutching in terror. I didn't think it, or even say it, but the names of the road came unbidden. Dead Horse Road, the road with no end. Slowly, ahead of us, the asphalt cracked and forked into two roads. Which one? I shouted over my own voice, echoing behind me. The grinning man's voice came from both sides at once. "Don't worry. One of my roads will take you." The grinning man's words rattled inside my bones long after his mouth had closed. It doesn't. The chasm ahead widened, light spilling out, pulsing as though we were staring into the glowing ribs of some monstrous thing. The SUV vibrated violently as the asphalt stretched forward, locking us onto the only path it wanted. And that's when I realized something worse. It wasn't pulling us into death. It was pulling us into its body. The Explorer shuddered, swerving hard as the tires finally crossed the edge. The world shifted in a blink. No more void above us, no more horizon. Now the road ran through a tunnel of flesh. The ceiling was veined, muscles flexing faintly, glowing with inner red light. The asphalt beneath us was no longer stone, but slick, wet, almost soft. We were inside the road now, as though swallowed whole.
And the screaming voices we heard earlier, they weren't below anymore. They were around us. Dozens, hundreds of voices embedded in the walls, faces straining out of living flesh, mouths gaping in agony as our headlights swept over them. Tyler gagged at the wheel. Mark clawed at his face, sobbing. I whispered the only thing that came to mind, completely useless, utterly hollow. This isn't possible!" A voice echoed back instantly, deep and mocking. "The road is older than possible." After what felt like hours of endless fleshy tunnel, the lights revealed something ahead. A glowing square, simple and stark. A toll booth. Silent, perfect, standing inside this monstrous body like some kind of shrine. A red and white striped arm barred the way forward. We slowed unwillingly. And in the booth sat the grinning man. No longer running, no longer crouching, just sitting casually behind glass, as though he'd been waiting for us all along. He leaned forward, that monstrous smile splitting wider. "End of the line?" Tyler croaked, his voice gone raw. The man chuckled. "No, just your first payment." His hand extended through the small slot of the booth, thin, too long, waiting. Mark shook violently in the back seat, rubbing his head. "He wants a toll! He wants a piece of us!"
Before we could argue, Mark shoved the door open. "Wait!" I yelled, but he was already stumbling toward the booth like his legs weren't his own. His eyes were wide, brimming with tears, but his voice was eerily calm. "If this is my fault, then let him take me. Maybe it ends if he takes me." Tyler screamed, "No!" pounding the horn, but it was useless. Mark reached the booth, standing face to face with that impossible grin. Slowly, the grinning man extended both hands now, palms waiting to receive. Mark looked back at us one last time. His lips trembled, but he forced a smile, a broken mirror of theirs. Then he stepped forward into the booth. The striped barrier rose instantly. The SUV roared, jerking back to life as if released. The wet road carried us deeper, light spilling only where we drove. Mark was gone. I turned to look, just once, just to be sure. The toll booth was already swallowed in distance, sinking back into the living walls of the tunnel. There was no Mark. Only the two of us left now. Tyler's voice cracked into a whisper. He paid the toll, but what happens when it asks again? I had no answer. So we kept driving. Kept going forward because there was nothing else we could do. And all the while, in the blood-red glow of the flesh tunnel, the voices of the swallowed whispered around us, one single chant, low, endless, and certain. You are the road now. The flesh tunnel ahead seemed endless, but after Mark's sacrifice, the road felt different, quieter, still alive, still whispering, but slower, as though it had eaten enough to ease its hunger for a moment. Neither Tyler nor I spoke for a long time. His knuckles were white against the steering wheel. He was barely present anymore, just an empty man doing the only thing left, driving. Finally, I whispered, "We'll never get out, will we?" Tyler laughed softly, broken. No exits. He told us, there is no end. But even as he said it, the tunnel changed.
The ceiling split open, and for the first time in what felt like days or years, we saw a pale horizon dawn. A ramp of bone-white asphalt carried us upward out of the pulsing red world. Our eyes burned at the sudden light. Hope cut through my chest like a knife. Maybe Mark's toll had bought us something. Maybe we really were leaving. We emerged into daylight. Real daylight. Fields stretched out in green. Birds circled in the sky. A tiny town appeared ahead. Gas station, diner, motel. But as soon as I saw that sign hanging over the entrance, hope curdled again. Welcome to Haven's Rest. We hadn't escaped. We'd returned. But something was different. No grinning people, no figures watching. The streets were empty, dead quiet. We rolled to a stop in the middle of town. Tyler dropped his forehead to the wheel and muttered, I can't do it again." I got out. The air smelled normal, warm, ordinary. It could have been any small town in Ohio. For one sickening second, I wanted to believe it was. That's when I saw him, standing in the street outside the diner. The grinning man, hat low, smile infinite. But this time, he wasn't chasing. He wasn't whispering. He was waiting. I stood frozen as he tipped his hat toward me. His voice filled the air, the ground, the sky, low and steady. You've driven far, paid some toll, but you're not free yet. You must choose. Choose what? I whispered. He tilted his head. One of you stays. One of you keeps driving. That is the way of the road. It must always keep moving. Behind me, Tyler stumbled out of the SUV, shaking. No, screw you. He shouted. We're not gonna... But I already knew the truth. He wasn't lying. We'd seen it with Mark. The road demanded sacrifice. Without one, it would never let either of us go. The man's grin widened. So decide. Tyler turned to me, eyes wide and broken. Don't do it. Don't you even think about it. If one of us stays, that's it. We're gone forever. I shook my head. No. One of us is gone forever. The other lives. His mouth opened, then closed. He understood. I looked at him, my best friend, my brother in every way but blood, and I made a choice. Maybe selfish, maybe inevitable. I whispered, I'm sorry, Tyler. Before he could react, I shoved him back into the driver's seat, slammed the door, and locked it. His fists pounded the glass, screaming my name as the engine roared to life under hands not his own. The SUV jerked forward, carrying him away. His screams Dopplered down the road as he vanished into the horizon. Silence fell across Haven's Rest. The grinning man turned to me, smile wide enough to split the world. He tipped his hat once more. You paid. The road will remember you kindly. And then he was gone. The town shimmered, bent in on itself, and suddenly I was kneeling at the side of a familiar interstate, I-70. Morning traffic hummed by, no sign of Haven's Rest, no sign of the SUV. Just me, alone, standing in the grass. It's been years now. People ask where Tyler went. Missing persons reports, detectives, endless questions.
I never answer. Because there are things I can't explain without sounding insane. The road that doesn't end. The faces in the asphalt. The man who only smiles. But sometimes, when I'm driving at night, I still hear it. The faint hum beneath my tires. The whisper threading into the static of